This is our last chance to destroy the Confederate Army. So we have 105,000 versus 40,000. And this is now a really big army, but I don't like where it's deployed. And I'm not a big fan of these fortifications. So, yeah, having some part of my army, a division out um, exposed like this, just doesn't make any sense. And that's just he can destroy my army in detail. So the first part of this is just reorganizing the army. And the first thing I always look for is I look for supply wagons, and there aren't any. So I don't see any supply wagons, which is exactly what I expected that I would find. Now that's really important. No supply wagons at all means that you have whatever supply you have. So fortunately, if you look around at my units should have a lot of supply because I made a point to fill them up before the end of the last battle. I don't know if the game refills them now. There was a time when the game didn't refill them. So maybe the game just automatically refills them to full anyway. So not sure about that. So someone who knows maybe can leave me a comment. Do you get supply wagons when you play this battle? And are your units topped up? I can see that condition is not replenished. I don't understand why that happens. You would think that after a night of sleep that some condition would be recovered, but not the case. You get the condition that you have at the end of the last battle. Yeah, I'm thinking of the Battle of Shiloh, and let me know if you had a similar experience to this. The Battle of Shiloh, it seems to me that your units, well, at least several of the times I played it, your units didn't get supply overnight. So if you were out of supply at the end of the first day of Shiloh and the second day, you were also out of supply. And your supply wagons didn't refill. So in the last video, I said your supply wagons always refill. Not true. I don't think that's the case. Um, at Shiloh, I don't think your supply wagons do refill. So there doesn't seem to be a single rule. And the other part of this is that Ultimate General Civil War has been constantly changing kind of what it does. So just because it does something one way in one version doesn't mean that's always going to be the way things are done. Things do change over time. So I have that unit in a fortification, and that unit just took a crap load of losses. Okay, once again, the fortifications are a death trap. So not liking that at all. Getting 1-to-1. I'm in a fortification shooting into the open ground, but there are several enemy units that are fighting there, or that are firing on that spot. So yeah, going to have to do something to immediately address this attack. And the enemy still does have 40,000 men. Meanwhile, these guys need to start moving to get on the enemy flank. Looks like the entire attack is going to be against one objective. Yeah, most of his army is attacking right here against this position. It's a shame these fortifications are so terrible. So maybe I can roll up the entire enemy flank. It seems to be just collapsing. It looks like almost all my artillery is in the wrong place. As I look at this, I think maybe I should have just fallen back. Advanced my artillery and then had the infantry just fall back and use the victory location as bait. The enemy would have just kept attacking that victory location if it was largely undefended, and I could have slaughtered the enemy as they would have attacked over and over again. All I have to do is get that artillery up close so that it can deliver canister fire. Okay, that did not work out at all. I just put myself in a position where my unit got flanked. Did not see the reinforcements coming in. And that's a weak 1842 unit, so that didn't go well. I really need to get all these units into the battle. Once everybody's into the battle, this should be pretty academic. Okay, that worked really well. Um, Wanted a couple of units to cut off the ford from the backside, while a bunch of units kind of encircled the small number that were on this side of the river. That worked out fairly well. So it's about 5 p.m., 1700, and there's only 2 hours left. The big problem that I see is there just isn't much time left in this battle. And I start off with 40,000 of the enemy to take out. That is a lot of guys to take out. Okay, there is one of the extremely irritating things about Ultimate General that still isn't fixed, that's never going to be fixed because the devs don't seem to care, and that is units don't know how to retreat or retreat in the wrong direction. Absolutely a broken mechanic, and there is a unit that just retreated through the entire Union line into the rear and will continue to fight on as though it is nothing absolutely as unusual about a unit being completely um, in the enemy rear, unsupported, and it would fight on normally. So, yeah, one of the absolutely broken things about the game that it doesn't look like it's ever going to be fixed. So, but in other news, every other attack is going just absolutely as well as it could possibly be going. Yep, got caught in melee and popped a detached skirmisher, and that worked out really well. So now, obviously, what I'm trying to do is cut off the escape of these units by getting to the river because there's no ford there. So if I can get all these units to the, I know I can get the cav there, and the cav can slow down anyone who's trying to retreat and maybe take out some artillery. But if I get the rest of these guys to form some kind of an infantry line right where we're moving here, this entire group will be pocketed, and that would be absolutely outstanding. And now I have a supply wagon. So happy day. It looks like I'm going to have to reinforce the. Oh, someone surrendered. It looks like I'm going to have to reinforce the army on the other side of the river. He seems to have a fairly good force that is um, fairly strong. So yeah, we finally destroyed that unit that should have surrendered a long time ago. That was in my rear, and now yeah, and if I had to do it again, the two units I just sent forward, I would actually send them across the river, across the ford, just to the left, and bring them up to support the artillery on the other side of the river. Um, that was actually a mistake. Wow, all those units there still haven't gotten into the battle. And from what I can tell, most of those are green, are units that have just came into the battle on this phase, I think. Not sure, but I think so. So anyway, getting units across the ford to the other side of the river, that's working out well because I think he has a pretty good force over there. So I need to reinforce. I have 4 pieces of artillery. Oh, look at this. They're just evaporating. Look at all those dead units, all those shattered units. Yep, half of them are gone. So he's down to 20,000. So he just lost 20,000 in that short period of time. Okay, he just engaged one of my good units, my Harper's Ferry, so get that Harper's Ferry unit out of there. Pop a skirmisher. Yeah. Do not want to get into melee with my good high efficiency units. Every guy I lose is $100. So those units still haven't gotten into the battle. And there's only an hour left. Okay, those guys have been cut off. We're going to bag the lot of them. And the next thing is to get across the river by that ford to the north. That is a long walk. My units are going to get completely exhausted. Now, the problem is when you get into a situation like this, the pocket gets so small, fewer and fewer units can actually take a position and fire into the mob. And that's kind of a problem. Also, I'm looking at this situation. I need to block the enemy from moving along the top of the map. So my line actually needs to shift left, not to the right, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm obviously trying to get to the creek or the river, whatever that thing is. So the units there will be trapped, but units will retreat in weird directions. So, I need to make sure that the enemy doesn't start retreating along the top of the map and into my lines, which they will do because the retreat mechanic is completely broken. I have to make sure that they retreat in the direction that I want them to retreat. And I'm not doing that. So And look at this. Now the enemy's going to do this. Okay, let's route right into infantry units. So that shouldn't happen. If he's going to route as a mob, there's nothing I can really do except put my units in a position where they can fire into the retreating enemy. And it looks like the way the AI calculates this is it tries to retreat where there are fewer Union units. So by having Union units on this side of the map, I don't know, it seems to get them to change direction. But look at the unit on the north side of the map. I knew, looking at this, that was going to happen. I knew he was going to retreat toward my artillery, toward my unprotected artillery. It is just absolutely an infuriating mechanic. I just hate that part of the game. What in the hell? Look at that. Look, he's retreating right into my unprotected. And he'll fight. He'll melee and he'll retreat into my artillery and melee and destroy my artillery. Just absolute nonsense. So I get my artillery out of the way of his retreating units, which is a big pile of steaming crap. And then I set them up, and maybe they can fire into those retreating units and do some good work. So it shouldn't even be necessary. Meanwhile, the guys on this side of the river have finally been taken care of. And we're down to 39 minutes. So I decided to go ahead and melee into these guys and inflict casualties. But that's just going to cause my army to suffer casualties that I shouldn't have to suffer. Those guys should have retreated or just surrendered. I mean, jeez. Okay, that didn't work. I have to tell these units one at a time where to go and what to do. Down to 7,000. Okay, there's a full strength unit there right in front of my cav. I need to get the hell out of there. Well, I really don't want to have those units charge, but if it'll drive the enemy back into a new corner where I can pound on them and get them away from my artillery, then okay. But every troop that I lost there was a completely unfair. Shouldn't have lost a single man in that entire effort. Okay, I'm just going to move artillery over to pound on these guys. Get them into get artillery and infantry over here, and yeah. Man, I have a lot of units. Okay, I now have plenty of guys over there to pocket these guys. As long as they don't, route into my infantry and artillery and become a real nuisance. Okay, now that looks better. But look how much time has passed. Down to 8 minutes. So very little of the enemy is left. I looked a while ago, it was 7,000. It's only a few thousand left. And these guys shouldn't have been able to get away. But they're going to escape. There are a couple of units on this side of the river. I didn't have enough time to go after them. There are only 2 minutes left. And yeah, need, 30 minutes in game time? 30 minutes to, I guess, wrap them all up. And yeah. Anyway, so with medicine, 13,000 to 54,000, 4 to 1. And really happy with that. 54,000 kills is a very good day, and that ends the Battle of Stones River. Would have liked to have bagged another 4,000 or 5,000 more and pushed it up closer to 60,000, but hey, I'll take the 54,000. So that finishes that battle. Army got a lot of experience, and the units did well. I had a 24-pound howitzer, did a lot of damage, and two 24-pound howitzers. Both of them got about around 2,900 kills each. That's a pretty good day. Yeah, most of the units did well. A Napoleon that almost got 1,000. That's good. Napoleons can get 1,000 if you're aggressive and you put them on the front line. So that's good. There were a bunch of units that came in on the last day that didn't get much action. So I'm looking down at the bottom, 175, 150, 39. Yeah, that's not good. I wanted all those units to get a lot more experience. 6-pounder, if it only got 74 kills, that means, one, it wasn't on the front line where it needs to be. 6-pounders have to be right on the front line, and it wasn't in the battle very much. A lot of these units spent a lot of time basically moving to the battle and didn't get much of a chance to fight. So yeah, they were in the army and they made up part of the over 100,000, but they didn't get a chance to do much fighting. So that's a shame. So only one wounded general and a whole bunch of 2-stars. Happy day. So I will always take free weapons. Happy to have all of them. And yeah, see you next battle.